Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the greatest podcast in all wrestling land. Welcome to Before the Free Count, the recap after WrestleMania. Run the thing.
Are you ready?
We are Before the Free Count, wrestling for the fans, by the fans. Your number one place for wrestling news, rumors, and all things wrestling. Charlie and Callum are two regular guys that met at a wrestling convention and now are bonded for life.
Not word bonded.
And now they talk about wrestling in their spare time.
We're back. New series. This is Before the Free Count.
So come along for the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Before the Free Count. I am your host, as always, Mr. Charlie Crick. And as you can see, it has been WrestleMania, clearly, because I was there. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever in my life, I went to WrestleMania. I witnessed the show of all shows. I witnessed the spectacular athleticism and the ending of storylines, the beginning of new seasons. I was there for SmackDown. I was there for Mania Night 1. I was there for Mania Night 2. And I was even there for the Raw after Mania. And we're going to go in on this episode of Before the Free Count and break down everything that happened on Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania and where we think it's going to go next. Are you ready? Because I am. First of all, as you may have noticed, I have got a very, very cool gift that I brought back from me. My memento of this trip is the one of 450. John Cena, the last time is now, Las Vegas, final WrestleMania belt. I picked this up at the shop. It's probably one of the best things I have ever brought in my life. Look at this thing. I mean, look at it. It's so cool. For those who can't see and listen to this online, take my word for it. This belt is insane. It's the old school spinner belt. It's got a picture of John Cena in the middle. It says the last time is now. We've got the Wind Eagle at the top. We've got Champ is here underneath. We've got Swarovski crystals on all the sides. On the places where you'd usually be able to put your nameplates and that, you've got Never Give Up with Swarovski crystals, the original WWF logo here with the globe, and then on the other side we've got the sign of John Cena's hand saying "You can't see me" with HLR, hustle, loyalty and respect on the other one. And then on the back we've got Las Vegas 2025 Nevada, "You can't see me," and Cena in metal gold on the back. I can actually tell you this is number 36 of 400, and how many did they do this? It was a lot, I know that, but it weren't 450. We got number 36 of 450 here. It is a limited edition of my favourite wrestler of all time. This will be going up in the background at some point in the podcast, but I had to come on here and show you guys this because, well, it's awesome. Look at it. Just whack the mic with it, so I do apologise. But for those that want a closer look, look at it. And it spins. Look at that. Oh my days. Oh my days. Okay, we're going to put this in the back for now, but I just wanted to show you that at the beginning of the video of our return from WrestleMania. So, it's going to annoy me if that isn't in the middle. There we go. Centre now. Okay, let's get back to business. As I said, we're going to go through every single aspect. So enough of that, let's get down to business. I've got a cold beer here. I've even got the WrestleMania 40 cup here, right here. I can't drink out of this because this is actually going to go to a friend of mine. So, you know who you are if you're listening. This is your cup. I was going to use it then, but, I thought I'd stop myself. But, however, let's get on with things. Before we start, though, I do want to thank our sponsors of every single episode of Before the Free Count. We have the lovely WrestleCrate. WrestleCrate is a monthly subscription box, as you can see here, and you get all cool, weird, and wonderful things in it. I'm going to open up the latest box for you right here, right now. Let's have a look. So as you guys may know, the WrestleCrate is a monthly subscription box. Let's have a look at what we got in this month. So to start off, we've got this very, very cool pop socket with Heavy Crate Champion on it for you to put onto your phone. Very, very cool. That'll be going right there. Let's have a look at the shirt. Let me just pause and show you the shirt quickly. We have then got a Stomper module shirt here. I love the skull in the corner. Loving all this. Okay, and then we've got Walk It Dry. I like this one. Very, very cool. Of course, then we've got our hint at next month's WrestleCrate. You will be getting a Jacob Fatu exclusive autograph. Very, very cool autograph. One I did not expect them to get. I've got to be honest. Some of the autographs they get in here are insane. Jacob Fatu, this guy's going to be big in a few years. He's already big now, let's be honest. He's just become the USA Championship. We'll get into that later. But what a cool autograph to be getting next month. We're also going to be giving you away the Best of RVD versus Jerry Lynn Volume 1. Scan this code right now and you can watch it. Also, we've got the pin of the month. This pin is, of course, a very, very cool set of ladders. You can't see it, my apologies. 20-foot ladder. Very, very cool. All of these ones glow in the dark. I've really enjoyed these ones so far. Very, very cool. Then we have a very cool The Big Book of Wrestle Puzzles. We've had a few of these before. These are great. They've got really cool crosswords and stuff like that in. Very, very cool. Now we get to our autographs for this month. And we've got some big ones this month. Of course, I'm talking about Paul Wright himself. The Big Show. Very, very cool autograph right here. Very, very cool. I mean, the photos you get in here, guys, they are absolutely insane, I have to say. They are worth the value. Finally, we have got ourselves a Meko Stamtora autograph. This girl is amazing. She was the NXT Women's Championship. I think she was the final Women's NXT Championship. UK, that is, before it got closed down nearly 2 years ago now. Very, very good autograph. I know she's going to be coming to NXT Europe when it sets off. So, very, very cool autograph to also get as well. And of course, as always, if you want to get yourself one of these very cool WrestleCrates, I can hook you up with a free one with your first subscription. So you get this box, each month's box, so the newest box at the time when you subscribe, and a free one full of old goodies with some retro autographs, maybe some t-shirts in there. Pretty, pretty cool stuff. All you got to do is go online and use the code BTTC, as you can see right here, and put that in when you make your first order, and you get a free box on the house. With all that said, let's get on with it. We have got a lot to break down today, and of course we're going to start off with the first match of WrestleMania Night 1, which was Mr. Yeet and the Ring General Gunther kicking off WrestleMania this year. I've got to say, I was a little bit disappointed they put them on first. You know, I've said in the past, I really think they should have had, like, you know, at least maybe the second or third to last spot on the bill, purely because of the way they handled it. But, you know, I digress. I have to say, the match was an absolute banger. It was brilliant. It was a fantastic kickoff to the show. It had everything we wanted, and it really, really did make you think, I don't know, maybe I did honestly think at some points that Gunther was going to hang on. I really, really did, and I thought if they do this, it's going to be it's got uproar. But of course, our main man, Mr. Jey Uso, came through, and he won the World Heavyweight title. So he's now a title holder for the first time as a solo wrestler in WWE. I mean, he's put in the work. He deserves it. The match was phenomenal, by the way. Absolutely loved it. As I said, it had everything you wanted. And let's just quickly go down the route. We had some very, very cool surprises on Monday Night Raw with Sami Zayn coming out. I did think he was going to turn on him, or Jimmy was going to turn on him, because Jimmy Uso came out as well. And we got a little bit of a yeet party going on Monday Night Raw. That was awesome, I have to say. But I don't know, man. Where does that put Jey now? Who's going to be the first person that goes after him? I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe someone like, I don't know, Bron Breakker, Seth Rollins, considering what's going on in them stories. But of course, we'll get to them later on. Now, of course, we're now going to move on to the second match of WrestleMania, which was the War Raiders versus the New Day. But I have to admit, I have to be honest here, it was one of those matches that, you know, it was my toilet break match of the night. It had to be. You have to have at least one of them, and I know it was only the second match in, but I thought if I'm going to go and do stuff, I didn't want to miss any of the other matches. It was the one I could kind of live without. I saw parts of it. What I saw was good. I haven't gone back and watched the whole thing, so maybe I need to do that. But from what I heard, it was a good match. It wasn't amazing, it wasn't stunning, it was a good match, and it was kind of the level it needed to be the second match on the card. You know, you start off high, then you need to bring them down low, and you need to get that mid thing to about the third or fourth match, bring them up again, bring them like, oh, we're ready, we're going to go for the big one, and then two last matches, which, by the way, when we get to the last two matches, my goodness, out the water on night one. But yeah, the War Raiders versus the New Day, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's very interesting that the New Day actually won. And the reason why I think it's quite interesting was because I think a lot of people, myself included, presumed that we were going to see Big E return. And we didn't. And to me, that was a bit of a shock. I, ironically, was very lucky and I actually got to meet Big E for about 2 seconds before the first match kicked off at the pre-show, because I was right in front of that stage. And I got to meet Big E, and I was very lucky and I got to meet Stephanie McMahon as well. This is like, you know, mental stories I didn't think I'd ever get to tell. But yeah, so it was very, very cool to see him. And he was in a suit. You know, I thought, like, if he's going to make an appearance, he's got to run backstage pretty quickly, get into his gear, and, you know, by the time he was ready, it would have probably been just as the New Day walked out, if he did appear. But, of course, he didn't. So, I think that was the thing that a lot of people presumed, and it didn't follow through the way they wanted it to. But nothing was ever guaranteed in the first place, and I think that's a big telling for the way this WrestleMania went. A lot of people presumed something very obvious was going to happen. It didn't, but when you look back, they never ever said or guaranteed it was going to go that way anyway. So, you know, I think sometimes as fans, we get our hopes up so high that it could sometimes be a bit, but you didn't do this. They never said they were going to. So maybe that's where we need to be at the moment. We need to be in that place where we're like, okay, we know we're going to get this, so let's just get excited for this. And if anything else comes, bonus. You know where I'm hinting at that one later on down the line. Anyway, that's the first two matches of WrestleMania out the way. Now let me think. I've got to think now. And of course, we then had Jade Cargill versus Naomi. You got to admit it, this was an absolute banger. I knew it was going to be good. I said quite early on that I thought that the way the storyline was going and the way they weren't ignoring it, but I just don't think it got the hype that it deserved. I honestly thought that this is going to be one of those matches that people are going to go, oh, I'm surprised how good this was. Not only was I surprised how good this was, I was surprised how far they went in this match. I mean, my God, those girls left everything out there in that ring. Some of the moves they were throwing, some of the combinations, some of the aerial work they were doing, it was absolutely incredible. It did not stop from the beginning to the end. I've got to be honest, I knew Naomi was going to be good, but I didn't really know enough about Jade Cargill. I knew that she was good. I'd seen some of her AEW work. But this is a different thing. This is like throwing someone in right at the deep end. And she hadn't really had, unless if I'm wrong, and if I am, I'm very sorry. She hadn't really had that big solo match to herself at any point since she signed. And she's been with them for nearly a year and a half. And I've got to admit, I was quite nervous. Because I know last year we had Bianca, Naomi, and Jade Cargill in one match versus Damage Control. Or was it versus... No, that was the year before. I was thinking of the year it was against Lita, Tiffany Stratton, and Becky Lynch. But that was 2 years ago. So it just blends, man. It just blends after a while. Anyway, back to the match I was talking about. Naomi and Jade Cargill. Yeah, I was a little... I wouldn't say I was nervous, but I was more apprehensive to actually see, can Jade Cargill really go at this level for this type of match at the biggest event of the year? And I gotta say, she went for it, man. She absolutely went for it. I was very surprised that Bianca didn't run in. Considering her match was the next night, I was very surprised she didn't run in and have anything to do with it. That did shock me. But I think it's good that she didn't, because, my God, as I said, the match was incredible. At that point, it was my match of the night. At that point, it was the match of the night. Because Jay and Gunther was brilliant. New Day versus World Raiders was alright. This was... Okay, you're knocking it out of the park now. You're absolutely knocking it out of the park. So yeah, I've got to say that was one of the best matches I saw that night. And then of course, we've got to go into a bit of detail before we go into the next match. So during Friday Night SmackDown, we had, of course, the Andre the Giant Memorial Rumble, who at the top of my tongue, I can't even remember who won, which I know isn't good, so I do apologise. However, during that match, sadly, Rey Mysterio took an injury where we believe he's either dislocated his ankle or dislocated his knee or fractured his knee. It was something along them lines. Please do not hold me accountable for knowing which one was which. But sadly, because of that, and I felt so sorry for him, man. Imagine this, like, fair enough, he's had a lot of WrestleMania moments. He's headlined, enough times as well. But, man, the night before the show of shows, you go out there and you're only supposed to be in the ring for like 2-3 minutes. Because that's how it works in the Rumble. Certain people, you're only in there for about certain minutes. And I believe they call it a hold stay, where you hold your position in the match and the camera stays on someone else and you hold where you are. And then when you know it's going to come back to you, that's when you start going for it and you start building it up. So when the camera comes back on, you're in there and then you get thrown out the ring or whatever. And he was in there for that. And it was the night before Mania. And he fractured or broke his ankle or his knee or something along them lines. We were quite high up for SmackDown, and we couldn't see the entrance because we were over it, so we could see them coming back towards us and then walking towards the ring. Our view was fantastic, by the way, absolutely incredible. But when the match finished and they were all coming back, Ray had started with just one person he was balancing on, and he got about halfway down and he needed another person. And at that point we all realised that, okay, tomorrow's match is it's either not going to happen or it's going to be changed quite a lot. And that's what happened. And there was a lot of people they could have picked to go in that position to go against El Americano, Chad Gable. But of all the people they could have picked, they picked Rey Fenix. And you swap one Rey for Rey, and I've got to admit it, for a guy that had only been with them for a fortnight, I think it was about a fortnight by the time the match came round. Yes, he's had experience. Yes, he's been on, he's been on the road and, been working the scene for nearly 10, 15 years plus. Same as Penta, they're brothers. If you didn't know that, by the way, Penta and Rey Fenix are actually brothers in real life. So, it wasn't that he wasn't experienced, it's just he wasn't he wasn't put in a position to be ready for a story yet. He was kind of in where Penta was until about 3 weeks ago, where it's like, okay, and now Monday Night Raw, the Penta match, da-da-da, and it was kind of like one of those things. And they were building it to something, they were. But he hadn't had barely any promo experience. He barely, he didn't have long matches, because they were on Raw or SmackDown. I think they're on SmackDown. So, I don't know. It was a bit of a risk. But he went out there and he felt El Americano. Was it the greatest match in the world? No! But considering where we were on the Friday night, was it a good match? Absolutely. In fact, I actually think it was honestly was one of my favourite matches that night. There was better matches, I admit it. But I got to admit it, for a match that was put together within less than 24 hours, bear that in mind, with someone that had only joined the company for 2 weeks at that point. Fair enough, as I said, they've had the training, they've been, in the industry for many, many years, but still, WWE is a bit different. To be thrown into that position, to be given a big spot at the biggest wrestling pay-per-view in all of wrestling within 2 weeks of joining the company, that's a big step and a big decision to do. It takes a lot of balls to even accept that and to go through with it. It takes a lot of balls to be able to pull it off the way they did, because they didn't have time to rehearse it. I mean, if they did, I guarantee you, they were rehearsing until the early hours of the frickin' morning of Saturday to put that together, because it was well sorted out. It wasn't a perfect match, but for what they did within 24 hours with a guy that had only been there for 2 weeks, I was bloody impressed. And I gotta say, the one thing that shocked me, we still don't know who El Americano is, even though we know it's Chad Gable. I was very surprised that was not how the match ended, considering he actually went for Rey Fenix's mask, which would have been a catastrophe, because he is a genuine Mexican luchador. And on that, very quickly, I'm just going to throw in, some people may not have known, or you may have seen, that before WrestleMania kicked off, on the kickoff show outside of Allegiant Stadium, they had the stage set up, and there was a lot of people on that stage, and they all started coming out, and I was like, oh, I know that person, and then Triple H appeared, Michael Cole appeared, Nick Khan appeared, and I thought, whoa, something's going down. And they announced that WWE, or TKO, have acquired the acquisitions to Triple A Luchador Wrestling. Now, this is huge. Some people, I don't think, understand how big this is. This is the biggest company in Mexican wrestling. This is as big as when AEW brought New Japan. Okay, that is the standard we're talking about here. Okay, this is huge, not only for TKO, not just for AAA, not just for WWE, not just for the merchandise side, not just for the wrestlers involved, not for just the promoters. This is huge in the global sense of wrestling, because now we have two companies that own two major players that were in the other side of the industry. They weren't indie, but they were the second league big companies out there, and they're now owned by the big leagues. And I gotta tell you, that first pay-per-view, and it's only 2 weeks away, may I add, I am very excited to see that NXT New World, or whatever they call it, AAA pay-per-view. And the best part is, it's an NXT event, which means it's going to be on around about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the UK, so it's going to be on early, so I can watch it and really take it in, and I'm so excited. But very quickly, just on that, I'm so excited to see where they go with that. But the match, El Americano versus Rey Fenix, it gets a thumbs up from me. It was a very, very good match. Now, moving on from there, the match no one gave a crap about until 2 weeks before, and it was Tiffy Time versus Charlotte Flair. Now, I've got to admit it, I didn't know how to feel about this match, because a lot of people knew that, okay, we all know it's a story, playing roles, all that, not really getting hurt. However, in this one, there is genuine beef between these two ladies, and we've seen it happen before in previous events, and it has not ended well. Well, how did this one end? Well, I was shocked that Tiffany held. I wanted her to. I didn't think it was going to happen. Should she have held? 100%. And the reason why I think she did is because Charlotte realised she needed to be put in place. There's no other question about it. I am convinced that after what went down 2 weeks ago, I am convinced that Charlotte realised that because of the reaction she had when she came back, considering she was to come into this as a babyface and they were going to turn Tiffany heel, from what I saw, that's what I believe was going to happen. By the way, I could be wrong there, but let's be honest, the first week when she came back after that Royal Rumble, she was trying to be nice, and then within about 20 minutes of the promo, you know, she just, this ain't going to work, I'm going heel. And it works better, and she played it well, but I got to admit, I think, personally, I think this could be Charlotte's last year, or second to last year, within WWE. Because it's getting to the point now where it's a rinse and repeat process. And a lot of people have been saying it, and a lot of people have been saying it's because of this and that and this and that. And we're not going to get into them details. We're not going to. We're not that type of show. But, you know, let's just say because of her circumstances and what's been going on in her own life and certain health issues with the injury, we can talk about that. I think that it's got to a point where I think she's starting it to let her affect her in the ring. And I think that's why they made the decision to let Tiffany keep the belt. Because I swear to God, I am fully convinced that up to about 3 weeks ago, Charlotte was winning that belt. 100%. She was winning that belt. Because it would have made sense, and it would have gave her another, I don't know how to describe, another wing to fly off going into this new chapter of WWE now, going into the season of 41 into 42. So, you know, it would have given her something to springboard her off at the beginning of this season. Did she need to win? No. Do I think it's going to affect her in the long run? Yes. 100%. Because it kind of leaves her in this fluctuating position where you kind of think, okay, now what? Now what? And she wasn't on Raw. She was not on Raw. And I don't believe she was on SmackDown on Friday either. I could be wrong there. I'm pretty sure she weren't though. But it's one of those things where, let's be honest, the match was fantastic. I will give them that. The match was brilliant. And that's the one thing I can't take away from Charlotte Flair, is that when she's on it and that it's that type of match, she is one of the best in-ring performers by none. Okay? It's true. I know some people don't like to admit it, but it's true. She is one of the best in-ring performers, male or female, by none. Now, there's a few other people I could put up there in the same position that are women. I'll get into them later on. But, you know, if we're going to be honest here, Charlotte is one of the best up there. Becky Lynch is up there to me as well. I think Bianca Belair, after what she's done this year, is definitely up there. Rhea Ripley, 100% up there. So, you know, we've got a lot of amazing people in the women's industry now. The problem is that some of them are getting to the point where you know that they're not going to be here in 5 years. It's not going to happen. You know, most careers are 5-10 years. Some at the moment they're going to 15-20. You know, John Cena's on 23, but you know, he's taken 2-3 year gaps. He's had one match each year in the last 5 years, something like that. Maybe not even, you know, he's had at least one match every year. I know that, but you know, the last 5 years he hasn't really. He's done probably less than 5 matches. I am happy to say that Cena has done more matches this year than he's done in the last 5 years. But still, I digress. I think we're getting to that point with some of the women now, and I think Charlotte's one of them. I'm not taking it away from the match. I just think it's something that's worth pointing out. The match was phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant. Tiffany left the ring looking like a Texan with that gap in her teeth, which was, you know, shocking. But, you know, I was impressed. I was impressed that they let him go that far. And, you know, things happen. But, yeah, I've walked away from that match and I've thought about it more and more and more. And I just feel like the match was fantastic. But of all the matches, it's made me question, okay, so where do you go now? Especially since where we are now. So I'm recording this on the Sunday. So it was 1 week today since WrestleMania. And so we've had Raw and SmackDown. And yeah, I thought it was a great match. Don't get me wrong. It was phenomenal. But the ending... Again, I didn't want... It's weird, because I didn't want Tiffany to lose. But now she hasn't. I kind of feel like it's left it in that fluctuation situation where you don't really know what to do. I mean, Tiffany is a lot more easier. Tiffany, you just set up with Nia Jax and you put that up there. That's easy as hell. Easy as hell. Charlotte, not so much. I mean, after Friday Night SmackDown, do you put her up against... what's her name? Do you put her up against Zelina Vega? That's the question I've got. Is that where we're going? If so, okay, cool. Then we've got a path to ride on. We'll start from there and we'll go from there. Brilliant. That could make sense. It could happen at Backlash. Be a very, very cool match. But again, as I said, I think it just left it in a bit of a situation. But, you know, as I said, the match was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, the Charlotte and Tiffany match. Now, moving on to the main event of night one of WrestleMania. My boy, did they bring it? What a spectacle that was. We had Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, versus the Visionary, Seth frickin' Rollins, versus the all straight CM Punk with Paul Heyman in CM Punk's corner. Now, on Friday night, we got that amazing promo from Seth. And I already had some feelings. I already had some kind of like, in the back of my head, I thought, I think it's going to go to Seth. And I don't know where the idea came from, but I just thought, if he's going to turn, he's not going to turn back to Roman, because it wouldn't make sense. Because, you know, we've kind of done that now. So it needed to, you know, and no offense, I kind of saw Heyman turning on Roman at the match for Punk, but in the back of my head, I kind of thought maybe he's going to work with Seth. And the reason why I thought that, and the reason what I think is going to happen now, considering what's going on at the moment, is personally, I think we're about to see the rebirth or the next generation of the Authority. You know them guys, you know, back from 2011, 2012, when we had Paul Heyman, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon, Seth freaking Rollins, and all those guys together, you know, to try and take down people like Daniel Bryan and all of that. I think even what's his name? Not Vin Diesel. What's his name? Damn it, my brain's gone. Come on. I think even Batista was involved at one point. Yeah, he was, because he faced Orton. He faced Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. And I think Orton was involved as well. Not fully as much as Seth and the rest of them. But yeah, I think we've seen the rebuild of that. Honestly. I think we're seeing the rebuild of that. Because we know we're already going back to the Messiah version of Seth Rollins. And I'm so excited. But the match itself, it was incredible. It had everything you wanted it to have. They did not stop from beginning to end. They were throwing each other out the ring. People were going through tables. There was double jump shots off the third rope. There was moments in that match where I genuinely thought Punk was going to win it. Genuinely. There was even moments where I thought Roman was going to win it. But the match, it just played beautifully into the audience's hand. And it got, you know, even though I kind of thought that it was going to be Seth that Paul was actually going to align with in the end, it's the moment that, you know, one of those moments that people talk about over and over again is that moment when Seth went for Roman with that chair, and you have the one guy that goes, no, before it actually happened. I've spoken about this before. I think that was one of the most shocking but most incredible moments I've witnessed in my wrestling life, like watching. But I was recording the thing, and I was going, it's going to happen. He's going to go to Seth. He's going to help Seth. He's on Seth's side. He's on Seth's side. He's going to do it. 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 And literally, just as he knelt, I went, I knew it! So if there's any shadow, if there's anything that you can hear on that video of a very loud person, like an echo in the background, because we were in boxes, so we were quite high up. But if you hear, I knew it! Before it happened, that was me. That was me. And it was just one of those moments where you just felt the whole stadium's breath just get taken away. I was like, oh, not this way, say it ain't so. But man, it was incredible. It was incredible to witness that. I've had a couple of moments at live wrestling events where I felt the oxygen being taken out of the room. One of them was when Dominic turned on Ray at Clash of the Castle, which I predicted. The other one would be when Roman got pinned for the first time in 3 years at Money in the Bank by Jey Uso. And the third would be this one, because it really was a moment that people kind of presumed. But there wasn't, you know, you kind of had to give a genuine statement or reasoning why. And it was very hard for people like me to go, oh, I don't know, maybe because of this. And it was like, yeah, but, you know, it's kind of been done. No, I think that's what's going to happen. And there was a lot of people in my suite as well. They were going, nah, it's going to be a clean match, you know. There's going to be some shockers, but I think that Punk's going to win it. You know, he's waited long enough. And I thought, I don't know, look at where we are. I think the thing that's the most poetic about the whole thing is that 10 years ago, Seth Rollins interrupted Roman Reigns' first match against Brock Lesnar in a main event at WrestleMania 31 to cash in his Money in the Bank, which became the heist of the century. And 10 years later, poetically, he's still screwing over Roman Reigns. And it was just like this most perfect. And the only thing that annoyed me the most was the cherry on the cake in that match. It should have been for a title. If that was for the title, if that was for the World Heavyweight Championship, or even like the Intercontinental, or something like that, you know, it would have been insane, because we would have literally got shot by shot perfect reimagining or retelling of when Seth won, and he's literally throwing the belt around his head doing that. That's the only thing. But man, Heyman and Seth, he's a Paul Heyman guy. Seth Rollins is a Paul Heyman guy. And of course, on Monday Night Raw, the guy walked past us, by the way. We were in very, very good seats, and we saw a lot of the people come and go. And the run-in that happened was right past where we were, and he came out the second Roman's music hit. So for a few seconds, we genuinely thought that Roman Reigns had walked past us. Because I was concentrated so much on him, I thought, everyone's going to look that way, and then he's going to run in and like spear him. And we were wrong. And then, of course, he runs into the ring, and we find out that Bron Breakker is part of this new clan with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins. And one thing I'm going to add on to that is that I know we haven't got to the match yet, but we also got Becky Lynch return. And we got Becky turning on Lyra Valkyria, meaning she's gone back to bad time Bex. And are we about, because, you know, Seth and Beth, they're, you know, they got the kid, they're married, you know, they're very close, they've worked together before. Are we about to see the very first Paul Heyman girl? Or will she be called the Paul Heyman man? Because, you know, it would work. But no, I've got to say, that was incredible. What a way to end night one of WrestleMania, by the way. What a way. It was incredible. It did not stop from beginning to end. And it took my breath away. Maybe because it was at Mania. Maybe it was because I was just so shocked that I was even there. But, yeah. Triple Threat versus Roman, CM Punk and Seth, one of the best live matches I've ever seen. Probably one of the best turns I've ever seen in my life. I can't say any more about it. It was just perfect. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to part 2, which is night 2 of WrestleMania. Sorry about that, the camera was slipping there for those that are watching the video. But yes, let's get onto it. I'm still not happy with that angle. Here we go. Is that better? Is that going to stay there? Let's hope it does. This makes no sense to those that are listening to this on Spotify or like Apple Music, or, you know, you just hear stuff and you're like, what's going on? It doesn't matter, okay? Look, if you're watching on YouTube, it makes sense. If you don't, well, I know that there's a way that you can upload your videos to Spotify now. Well, we're going to look into that. We're going to find out how we can do it. Really interested to see how we can do that, because if we can upload the video version, perfect. Okay, so moving on to night 2 of WrestleMania. Did they kick it off with another Supreme match? Oh, yes, they did. To me, this was actually the match of the night. And I'm not even going to lie. So this was Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. Man, what a match. These girls went for it in every single possible way. I got some videos of it. It's in the vlog. Some clips from this match particularly, when they did the free hold throw from the left side rope. That was just incredible. I knew it was going to be a good match. I think I actually said on here that I think this could be one of the matches of the weekend. It's in my top 3. I can't even deny it. It's in my top 3. It's one of the best matches. It's the best women's match I've ever seen in my life. That is not even hard to, compare this to any others that I've seen. It was the best women's match I have ever seen, and it is probably in the top 5 best matches I have ever seen with my own eyes. It was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. I've always been a bit and ah about Bianca Belair. Just personal taste and the way she wrestles. But the last year or so, she's really I started to think, okay, she's actually really good. Okay, she's really, really good. The thing she was doing in the Elimination Chamber match made me go, okay, I understand it now. I get it. Bianca Belair in this match, my God, she was the MVP. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Some of the stuff that girl was doing. How does any of it not hurt with her hair? Because that's not like an attachment. That's her actual hair. I mean, come on. Rhea Ripley, outstanding as always. Some of her pressure holds, some of her jumps and springs. It was just incredible. But of course, I gotta give it to Io Sky, man. I mean, a lot of people thought that, it's going to be one of those stories where you think she's going to win it, but actually, no, they're going to throw it the other way. A lot of people didn't understand why they did the match order the way they did coming up to WrestleMania. And at the time, it was a bit confusing. But I got to say, man, it played out beautifully. In the end, it was just beautiful. I'm not even disappointed that Rhea doesn't have it now. Like, it's one of those things where the whole story was, now, just because we gave it to her at that time doesn't mean she doesn't deserve it. And Io Sky, man, I can't wait to see what she does next. I'd love to know who she's going to go up against next. I'd love to, because it's the same with Bianca Belair. I thought they were good, but the strides these two women have taken in the last year or so, in my opinion, I know a lot of people had them high up there, especially Bianca Belair, but the height that these two women have gone, and the amount my opinion's gone up in both these two, it's almost like night and day. And maybe that's me just not paying attention the first time. Maybe that's me just not realising how good it was. But, oh man, I've got to give props to all 3 of them. Rhea, you were spectacular. Bianca Belair, you blew me away. And Io, you proved why you're in that position. That match proved why Io Sky needs to be considered in the conversation of the Becky Lynches and the Charlotte Flairs and the Rhea Ripleys and the Tiffany Strattons. And, you've got certain people that are like mid-card and they've stayed there and it's just like, okay. And then there's other people you're like, well, they've tried to do it, it hasn't worked. Now, after that match, and personally, it was after War Games to me, after these few matches we've had over the last few months, she's no longer mid-card. You cannot put Io Sky in a mid-card position anymore. She is the top of the top 10 women in that roster now. She's in that, when you're looking at the best of the best on WWE, she's in that conversation now. The other two were already there, but Io is just incredible. Moving on though, because we have to, we're going on to one of the matches that I think was very underrated, from what I've seen from people, and this was Drew versus Damian Priest. This match was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like the tables, the throws, the weapons with the chairs, the selfie taking, the blind spot, the jumps, the spears, everything. That match did not stop from beginning to end. And I know a lot of people say that, but I don't think they had time for more than 1 or 2 replays during that whole match. Just because they just were like, nah, sod this, we're just going to keep on going. And it was incredible. It's definitely the best tables match I've ever seen. Well, actually, no, probably the second best tables match I've ever seen live. The best table match was Money in the Bank, but no. Yeah, this is the second best table match I've ever seen live. It had everything you wanted it to. And the thing that I love about this is it sets them both up perfectly. Because Drew is now on an equal playing field, and Damien now needs to go and prove himself. So it sets them both up perfectly in the opposite positions that it left them at the end of last Mania, which is a really, really clever thing to do, and make it actually last this long to get to this point was a really, really tactical and very well manoeuvred play there by the creators. And you had Damien, where he was on such a high stride after winning it last year by cashing in. He had, all of the Judgment Day there. And then they broke up and they all turned on him. And then you kind of, the only good guys now technically are, I mean, they've all split up now. After this Mania, it is the end of Judgment Day. That is it. There's no Judgment Day anymore. No way. Who we got? Carlito and Finn. And JD McDonough. Which, plus the fact, where the hell has he been for the last few months? I think he was injured, so yeah. But you had that with Damien, which has taken him a year to get to this point. And you also had Drew, where it was technically Damien that screwed him over the whole time. He just got distracted by Punk, but he wanted to go on this rage onto Punk for a long time. And man, that, to me, story of the year, rivalry of the year, Drew versus Punk, rivalry of the year last year. Gotta say, that was just the matches that we got out of that storyline. It was some of the promos as well. I mean, Punk showing up in Scotland on the day that they got knocked out of, it was either the World Cup or the Six Nations, and he's wearing a frickin' what's it called shirt, and he goes bonjour or whatever it was, or Guten Tag, because they were knocked out by frickin' Germany. He's wearing a Celtic shirt, that was it. He was wearing a Celtic shirt. Just the spite of having the balls to do that. And the thing that I find funny about that is that people go, oh, it's all part of the act. Stuff like that. He's walking into the press room where there's, in the UK, you've got the same people that cover national football and national rugby that take that stuff so seriously. It's like their life, that are covering this wrestling event because it was in the UK, and they want to be covering what's going on and stuff like that, and they're just getting the text and it's getting crapper and crapper and crapper, and the Scottish guy isn't even winning here, and then the guy that wins has the balls to come in wearing a Celtic shirt and then goes Guten Tag. Oh wait, sorry, wrong country. Fair play. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, but no, and it took Drew a lot of time to get over that, and then he realised that it was Damien. It was actually him that got in his way, because he was the one that cashed in. It was his fault that he got distracted, but it was Damien that cashed in. He was the one that took the moment away from him, and he realised he needed to, prove that he would have still won if it was just against him in the first place. I did have a slight, wouldn't it be funny if Punk got involved and we just did this 2 years on the trot now? But no, fantastic match, absolutely fantastic match from the both of them. Now, I might get the next two matches in the wrong order, so bear with me. So, was it? Oh man, I can't remember. So I believe, ironic thing to say, I believe that the next match was the Randy Orton match against a unknown opponent. And Randy comes out, the music hits, he walks down, we're all singing, I hear voices in my head. And spectacular, and we're standing there, and I gotta say, I had in the back of my head, and I was telling people this, and I'm quite embarrassed I did. I just had this weird feeling it was going to be Brock. And I know a lot of people are going to laugh at that, but I just had this weird feeling that it was going to be Brock. Or Rusev, which, that did happen, but it didn't happen that night. I really thought it was going to be Brock. Really thought it was going to be... Some people were saying, wouldn't it be funny if it was Kevin Owens and he just threw all the crutches and that down? It was all just a thing this whole time. But no, before we talk about who it was, let me just give you a quick backstory about 6 hours before this match. Okay, so I was at WrestleCon and I was going around meeting the people I wanted to. I got to meet some legends. I got to meet Mr. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I got to meet Jerry the King Lawler. I got to meet Jim Ross, one of the greatest commentator duos of all time, them two. And of course I got to meet the legend, Mr. Sting was there. I got to meet Sting, finally, off my bucket list. 5 years I've been trying to meet that guy. Lovely guy. All of them were very, very, very humble, lovely people. But whilst I was walking around, I saw all the other stars that were there. Honky Tonk Man was there. I saw Mr. RVD. He was there. And there was quite a few indie stars as well. Quite a few people from, different things. Who else did I see? I saw Toni Storm. I've met her before. She's lovely. It was great to see her again. And then I spotted someone that had a massive queue. And he was, very, very busy. And I was very tempted to join it. Very, very tempted. But I thought, some of these guys I'm not going to ever see again. And, because some of them can't fly anymore, so they can't come to the UK. So I thought, you know what, let's go for those guys. But I just looked over to the guy and nodded my head, nodded back. Thought, cool. That's my little interaction with that guy. And then, of course, 6 hours later, I'm standing there in the arena, waiting for Randy Orton's opponent to come in. And who is it? None other than the man I was standing 2 meters apart from only 6 hours before. It was Joe Hendry. I was over the moon, but at the same time gutted. And the reason why I was gutted, I was like, I literally could have met him on the day that he made his WrestleMania debut if I would have just got in that freaking line. And literally, since then, since I've got back to the UK, I've literally been going through listings going, when's he next in the UK? When's he next in the UK? The next time that man is in the UK, I am meeting him. I don't care if it's in freaking Wales, Scotland, Ireland, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. I don't care. I'm going to meet Joe Hendry because I should have met him that day. It was a very funny, it was a very cool, very short match, but you know what? It was incredible to witness. To see a guy that had literally started off as a meme about a year and a half ago now, on the indie scene releasing this song and then thought, this is getting quite popular, and then TNA come along and go, hey, we like you, come work with us, we're relaunching. And then of course TNA are then approached by WWE and they say, do you want to come and work with us on NXT? And then it really blew up and it got bigger, and then he won the TNA championship. And then he's been appearing here, there, and frickin' everywhere since. He was nominated to be the Eurovision song this year. The man has had one hell of a year and a half. And to literally be 2 meters away from him and have the chance to take that photo, and I didn't do it. And then 6 hours later, he was on the ring in the main stage of WrestleMania. That was a bit of a stab to the heart, going, you absolute fool! But I digress. It was a funny match. It was a very, very funny match. It was a short match, but I think it was the second that music hit, we all knew what we were gonna get from the match. And not to, by the way, when I say that, there's no mean feat in me saying that Joe Hendry. That's not me saying Joe Hendry can't wrestle. The guy can move in the ring, but because of the character and the persona and where we were, it wasn't going to be a 45-minute, it wasn't going to be a 45-minute match, obviously. It was going to be, at the most, it was going to be 20 minutes, and I think it went on for about 10, maybe 15 at the most. Probably not even 15, to be honest. But it was spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. To see Joe Henry make his WrestleMania debut, fair play, man. Fair play. And if you're listening to this somehow, Joe, come on the podcast. You got to do it sometime. We love you here at Before the Free Count. However, we got to move on. And then the next match, I believe this was the next match. We then had, I believe it was the Fatal 4-Way, which had Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Braun Breaker, and Penta. Brilliant match. Absolutely brilliant. I don't think it hit as much as people wanted it to, in my personal opinion. And I do see that happen quite a bit in Fatal 4-Ways, purely because there's a lot of, there's 4 people in the ring. You've got to work off each other. You've got to get that balance. And if you can't get, at least 2 people working off each other at the same time whilst the other 2 are trying to work something out, so you've got someone to focus here. Okay, and then we're going to do this. I'm going to focus over here. And then we're going to focus over here. And then they're both over time looking at each other and put it together. But all in all, it was a brilliant match. Absolutely loved it. Braun Breaker worked his arse off. Finn Balor, I think that's the best performance you've had at WrestleMania for about 5 years. Just being honest, mate. Just being honest. Huge fan, but I'm just being honest. I do feel sorry for Finn Balor. I was talking to this with someone at the event, and we kind of all said that, just because of what happened nearly 10 years ago now, and it happened 2 titles on the trot, that the fact that just the pure fear that it could happen again, Finn Balor, I don't think will ever get another title shot or ever get another title hold apart from the tag teams for the rest of his career, purely because of what happened 10 years. For those that don't know, he won the Universal Championship match, the Gauntlet match, the first person to ever hold it. But during the match, I think it was his shoulder or his knee, it was something along them lines. He completely dislocated and had to give up the title the next night. And then there was the time he won the World Heavyweight Championship, and I'm pretty sure on that one he definitely broke his ankle, and he had to give that up the next night. I could be wrong in the injuries and stuff like that, but I know that it was 2 title reigns, both ending within 24 hours because of mishap injuries during the matches. And because of that, I don't think he's ever had a proper title shot or title win since then, which I think is really hard for him, man. He deserves it. He's worked his arse off. He's one of the best in-ring performers I think they've got. He's a very underrated guy. But anyway, as I said, I think it was one of his best matches. Penta, you were astonishing. As always, some of the moves you were throwing were incredible. Braun Breaker, you're just a beast. You're scary. Honestly, seeing Braun Breaker in real life, there's a difference. Believe me. So that was incredible. But of course, the surprise of the night, old Dirty Dom goes and wins his first title. That's the one thing I didn't have money on, I'll tell you that right now. I actually had Penta down to win it because I thought it makes sense. He's had such good hype. It'll be good to put a title on him pretty early on. We can run with this till SummerSlam, something like that. But no, Dirty Dom wins the Intercontinental belt. And I've got to say, fair play to the man. He's earned it. He's really earned it. Especially watching him grow over the last 3 years since he joined the Judgment Day. All the people in the Judgment Day, if you look at them, where they are when they started, minus Finn, because Finn was already way up there. And Edge, but Edge was, he was there and then they put it together, turned. He wasn't even involved when Dom was there, yeah. So you look at the 4, you look at JD, you look at Damian Priest, you look at Rhea Ripley, and you look at Dominic Mysterio, minus JD, all of them have held World Heavyweight Championships during that time. So the push that has given them has been absolutely incredible. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. He was brilliant. The thing that shocked me is that everyone just turned and cheered. That did shock me. I was cheering because I thought it was a good thing. But I was surprised by how many people were like, yeah, hell yeah, let's give this man a chance. He's earned it. Which he had. But, you know, considering he was the most booed person in any event, no matter where he was, to the point where you could not hear him, even with the mics at the highest volume, which they were having to do some nights during tapings. For him to get the reaction he did was, I thought was pretty shocking. But, you know, give it to the guy. Fair play. Well done, Dirty Dom. Okay, 3 matches to go. So let's go on to the next one, which was Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. I gotta admit it, that match just didn't hit for me. Don't know why. I don't know if it was just the way it flowed on the day, if it was something within the injury, in the way they were working together, if it was something, you know, like maybe with the crowd's reaction, maybe, you know, they just couldn't. I'm not saying they did, but, you know, like maybe there was a few things they tried to pull off and they realised they couldn't. So they kind of held the boat back on that. It was a good match. I always say this, any match that gets to WrestleMania has to be, you know, at least a C or a D at the lowest. I never ever give an F to any matches at WrestleMania. I never ever will. But this is probably a D. It was really good. It was really good. They really went for it, but it just didn't click. And the thing that shocked me the most is it's probably the first time that I've watched Logan Paul and I couldn't defend him. Maybe I need to watch it back. But, you know, I just couldn't defend that match. I thought it, again, as I said, I thought it was good. But I just thought that AJ would have brought more out in him, if I'm perfectly honest. For someone that has that much experience and is that much of a veteran and has done, you know, I mean, freaking hell, he ended Undertaker's career. He was the last match and that was Undertaker's choice. So, you know, it's not like they just put him with someone random. This guy's got experience. He's one of the best New Japan wrestlers they ever had. He's worked everywhere. He's taken years and years and years of experience to put it in that ring. So, you know, I've got nothing wrong with AJ Styles, and to be honest with his wrestling, may I point that out, I haven't really got a lot wrong with Logan Paul, because as much as I don't like the guy, he pulls it off every time. This time, not so much. Don't know what it was, just didn't work for me this time. But, you know, sometimes that just happens. As I said, it's the same thing like maybe with the New Day. It just didn't hit with me this year, and I don't think it hit with the audience. And I think that's kind of like what one of the major parts of it is if the audience isn't connecting to it, then it's not going to flow the way they want, because they're waiting for the reactions. And if they're waiting for something they're not going to get, it's going to slow it down and make it seem more choppy and, you know, all of that stuff. But anyway, Logan Paul, AJ Styles, good but not great. Probably my least favourite match of the whole weekend. But we move on to... man, this is going to make me think. It was the women's tag team match. It was Liv Morgan and I believe Roxanne... We then had the women's tag team match, which was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez or Ivy Nile. I know it was one of those two. I do apologise. Versus Lyra Valkyria, and it was supposed to be Bayley. We'll go into that another day. I weren't happy. I'll tell you that right now. I weren't happy. You know what? We will go into this now. Why did you pull her out of that match? Why? She didn't have an injury. She was absolutely fine. She went on... I can't remember his name. I think it's Chris something's YouTube channel. Did a full interview with him. And she said... And this interview, by the way, was done about 2 weeks ago. And she went, wait till you see what they've done for me for Mania. So she knew then that she wasn't going to get, you know, the spot. I just feel sorry for Bayley now. because this is 2 Manias on the trot where they've screwed her over. They gave her the money in they gave her the Royal Rumble win, but they didn't hype her match up and didn't really do anything with her. She won it, and then they didn't give her barely any title defences whatsoever. She only had 2, and the second time was the one she lost it. They barely mentioned her on SmackDown and Raw. And then this year, they're building it up, and they just, she has an injury. No, she fucking doesn't. No, she doesn't. You just want to switch it up for someone else. Which, I was happy with the person they switched it with, because I'm a die-hard fan of the person. But, I don't know, man. I just felt really sorry for Bayley in this instance. Really, really sorry. Come on, guys. Give us some slack. Give her something. Give her a storyline. Give us something to... Turn her heel. Fuck me, if that's going to do it, turn her heel. Worked last time. It was brilliant. Or make her go back to being happy Bayley, with the balloons and all that crap. Do something, please. But don't let someone that talented, that dedicated, and that passionate just sit on the sidelines purely because you can't think of anything better to do with them. Okay, that's my little rant over. But moving on. So, Lyra Valkyria was in the ring, waiting. Who's a partner? Who's a partner? Who's a partner? I gotta admit, I was shocked it was Becky Lynch. Purely because the week of Mania, she went on some kind of comedy podcast and she said, "Oh no, my husband wrestles now. I'm basically retired. I just look after my daughter." And she didn't say it in any jokey way or anything like that. It was almost like completely true. So for her to come back, it completely shocked me. Completely shocked me. Didn't expect that at all. But, gotta give it to her. Becky Lynch, she back. The match wasn't fantastic, I gotta admit. It probably was cut short. But Becky Lynch is back, baby. Becky Lynch is back. And what does she do on the first night of the Raw after Mania? She gives a low blow to Lyra Valkyria and basically says, "Go sod yourself, I'm doing it for me this time." Which made that, made that title run a bit irrelevant for quite long, considering they've got to work together in some way. Will she find another partner? I don't know. Maybe she can, because she technically wasn't her official partner when, she had the match at Mania. I don't know. Maybe that's where it's going. But as I said earlier, I personally think with what's going on with Seth and Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman, considering Seth's married to Becky, I genuinely think that we are about to see the first Paul Heyman girl. Or as I said it should be the Paul Heyman man. So yeah, that's that one. And then finally, our second to last match of we move on. It's the main event. It's night 2. Here we go. It's the big one. Let's get into it. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, versus the GOAT, John Cena. Okay, let's break this down. So back at the Elimination Chamber, Cena turns heel, and it's Travis Scott and The Rock that are there that make him make that decision, and we're shocked that we don't hear from any of them during the rest of the build up to Mania. We see John do things that we've never seen him do before. We see him say things we've never heard him do before, and he was kind of on that. He was on that path. He's gone bad. He's bad. He's not turning back, and he didn't need the help. He didn't need the help building the match. Didn't need the help getting on Cody's nerves. Didn't need any of that. Didn't bring up The Rock then. Didn't bring up why he did it. Still hasn't. I mean, technically he said because he gives up on us because, there must be something. There must be something else. There must be. However, there was no one else got involved then. And then we get to the main event. John Cena walks out to a blank screen and just his name there, which I thought was genius. Just genius play that was. You get nothing. And literally, that is what we got. We got nothing. He meant it. So, very, very impressed with the way they pulled that up. I didn't get the whole stunt quad bike thing. I'm guessing that was sponsored by something. It was cool. It was really, really cool to see in person. Didn't really understand where that all came from for Cody Rhodes, but I liked it. I thought it was very, very cool. Of course, then he comes up through the stage and he's wearing the American Nightmare skull mask, different from last year. And then, oh man, the pop this got when wrestling has more than one royal family. And then the drum bit kicked and the mask just went up and you saw his face. It was like, oh my god, he's Iron Man. It was amazing. That was genius. I don't even want to know how much that cost. And imagine if it went wrong. Imagine if that had gone on wrong and it just stopped like where his freaking nose was. Man, no, but it was brilliant. The fireworks were incredible. His entrance was fantastic. It was brilliant. But let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to the match. Okay, so we start off with a very, very close chokehold, grab between the two of them, going back and forth for quite a while. And Cody's got Cena quite quickly, and then Cena's just like, nope. And then that was it. Like, nope. And Cena just destroyed him. There's no other way to say it. Like, Cena just fucking didn't give the boy a chance, man. I'm sorry, Cody's my boy, but my god, Cena, what were you thinking? Cody came back a couple of times, and he got a few crossroads in, made some pretty cool jumps off the rope, but within a pattern less than a minute of that, it was just back on Cena. And then just when you thought, oh, Cody's got a chance, the music hits and Travis Scott comes out. Okay, we're going down that road. Okay, so it was at that point Callum turned to me and he went, we're getting the Rock, we're getting the freaking Rock. And I thought, it could happen. It could really happen. You know, Travis Scott, and then, you know, because then all three of them are there. This could happen. This could really happen. As Travis Scott jumps in the ring and starts going for Cody. And then, of course, Cody gives him a crossroad. He's celebrating, and behind him, Mr. Cena, he's holding the belt. We're going back and forth, and he nearly gives it to Cody, and he goes, okay, then, you do it. Hit me with the belt. Which I thought was a really, really clever play to be in the match. It was a very clever way of telling the story of, like, if you really want a chance of doing this, it's basically their way of saying, if you really want to do this, you're going to have to eventually take the same path that I did. Because I didn't want to. So it was kind of like, you know, in the back of Cody's head, one day you're going to have to do this eventually. And, but Cody, the guy that he is, didn't do it. Turned, the belt was picked up, and straight into Cody's face. The referee was dragged straight back in, and your boy John Cena breaks history by becoming 17-time World Heavyweight Champion. And I thought he was going to win. I thought it was pretty obvious that Cena was going to win. I don't know why people were shocked about that. It seemed like people were a lot more shocked that The Rock wasn't there. And let me get into why some of the stuff that's been said, some of the stuff that's been tweeted, some of the things people have said within the industry, and some people that I just mentioned have said back to the people in the industry, has been very, very interesting to watch over the last week. Okay, so here's my breakdown of all of that. I'm not going to name the names, but we're just going to talk about it, okay? Would it have made more sense if The Rock was there? Yeah. Did they advertise that The Rock was going to be there? Yes and no. And I got one piece of proof here, which is on the cup, because right there, you can see, right next to Mania, you have the final boss, a poster of The Rock. That's on the official WrestleMania cup. Okay? This is on the cup. This was also on a poster outside going into the entrances. There was other posters of him around the place. There was a massive Rock sign at WWE World, and there was even a shirt that said, "Finally, The Rock has come back to Las Vegas," on sale. Okay? However, that shirt was not on sale until the Monday. Not the Sunday, the Monday. So a lot of people thought he was going to turn up on Monday Night Raw. Me included. Because they announced it whilst we were back in our room, and our room was opposite the T-Mobile, and the second the show ended, it actually started showing the preview for Monday Night Raw on there, and one of the first thing it showed was The Rock doing that with all the electric behind him. So I was pretty convinced I was going to see him at Monday Night Raw, not at Mania. This bit kind of makes sense, because these are made months in advance and these cups were made. The other thing that I want to point out on this is that you've also got some people that weren't involved in any matches. Like Cora Jade, Bailey, I know there's some others in it, Nia Jax, Chelsea Green, Alexa Bliss. You know, so there's other people that were on this cup and had posters out during the week of WrestleMania. Becky Lynch, she wasn't announced to be there. She hadn't been on TV, but she had a poster. Shinsuke Nakamura, he was on there as well. You know, what I'm saying is there was a lot. Okay, there was a lot of people that were advertised that wasn't at The Miz. Just notice that one. Right up there. Okay, so these people were at WrestleMania, but they weren't involved. The only one that wasn't there at all was The Rock. So for the people that are saying, you said The Rock was going to be here, you made it obvious The Rock was going to be there, it was in the storyline, blah, 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 blah. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Here's my opinion of it. We all presumed The Rock was going to be there because of what happened at Elimination Chamber. We all presumed he was going to come out during them final moments. But he didn't. Okay? And so for all those people that are saying, oh, the last match was crap, and your only reason for saying that is because the match was too short, or that The Rock didn't show up, or that Travis Scott was involved instead, get a life. I'm sorry, get a life. The match was going to be short anyway. Cena's 46. He's not gone for any more than 25 minutes in the last 5-10 years. Travis Scott turning up, shouldn't have a problem with it, because you've already had people like Bad Bunny and Snoop Dogg. I could go on, I just can't think of them now. There has been many other people that have got involved in wrestling matches or involved in wrestling that have had nothing to do with it, okay? And they've still got involved. I mean, heck, Rodman was in NWO when he was in the Lakers, okay? Was in the Chicago Bulls. Dennis Rodman, whatever it was. He, you know, come on. Can't start pulling back on that crap now, okay? Jelly Roll, he had a moment. All these people, okay? Kid Rock. Donald Trump, okay? So, you know, I'm not having this, I didn't want Travis Scott involved because he's not a wrestler. Yeah, but there's been other people that are not wrestlers involved before. It's not been the first time. Okay, at least he was only involved in one part of it. Let me just take you back to 2006 or whenever it was, when we had Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump, and that wasn't a short match, that was a full-on match at WrestleMania. It wasn't a cameo, it was a full-on match. It's happened before, okay? The Rock not showing up. He was there last year. Last year was the 40th. He was at Elimination Chamber. He was apparently there to help get that part of the story over. He didn't need to explain himself. Technically, he could have just given Cena the advice. For all we know, we've not been told why Cena actually turned. There's also been proof shown that technically him doing 1, 2, 3 at War Games could still be part of this ongoing story, which could now involve John Cena, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker. Okay? That's just one of the stories going around. And the final thing that people that are just going on about the match is, it just weren't as good. Well, I'm sorry, but I agree, it wasn't the best match of the night, okay? I admit it, I've already said that it was the women's. But the guy's 47, The Rock didn't show up, it still would have been a fantastic moment if he did, okay? Would it have been better? Maybe, but it still would have been the same result. Would it have changed the way you saw it? Maybe, a little bit, but maybe if we wait a little longer, it will be explained down the line. Here's my other side of it, okay? Let me just flip the coin for a second. What The Rock put out, don't agree with. No, 100%. But at the same time, I do. Because people were taking what happened in that match as if it was the worst thing that has ever happened in wrestling. I could give you 100 stories of things that were worse. First of all, the Invisible Slam, the classic. You know, Hulk Hogan just throws himself on the floor, or whoever it was, because they didn't want to lose the title, and that basically killed WCW. Frickin' hell. What was it called? Jesus, sorry. The Royal Rumble, where they both fell out the ring at the same time. That happened, okay? The Montreal screw job, that happened, okay? There's many moments I could go into that were bad. Oh, Goldberg beating The Fiend in 30 seconds and winning the title for no fucking reason whatsoever still pisses me off to the day. Okay? That happened. There's a lot of things that have happened in wrestling that have pissed people off, but we've moved on, and it's not necessarily been explained, but down the line you look back and you go, well, it could have been worse. I tell you something now, this could have been a lot worse. A lot worse. Okay? Imagine if The Rock did come out and it was still crap. What are you going to complain about then? Okay? I will admit the match didn't flow perfectly. But to be there and witness Cena get his 17th time World Championship, was that something that I think people are forgetting here? Yes! You've just seen someone win their 7th. No one has ever done that. Okay? No one has ever won 17. It's never been done. And the people that were there, you got to witness that moment. But because you don't like Cena at the moment because he's a heel, and because you were, by the way, this also doesn't make any sense. People were pissed off with the result, and yet during the match, and I swear to God this is true, and I guarantee you if you go back and listen to it, it's true, they were cheering for Cena and booing Cody, okay? Sorry, if you're annoyed about the winner, surely you should have been cheering for the other freaking guy then. So, I don't know, but I thought it was a good match. I didn't think it was a great match, I thought it was a good match. I thought the ending was really good because it was just a shocker, and to see Cena get 17, the fact we haven't heard anything out of Cody since, I think is perfect, because considering that moment that I spoke about with the belt, I think we're finally going to see heel Cody. I think we're finally going to see it. We're going to see Homelander finally, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come back until SummerSlam, genuinely, because that's what Roman did last year. So yeah, you let me know. But on that note, I'm going to end this week's episode of Before the Free Count. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being patient. Just to let you know, if you're wondering where's all the clips from this WrestleMania trip, Charlie, where's these clips of these videos you're showing and the things you're talking about, there is a separate vlog on the YouTube channel. If you want to go and watch it, go to Before the Free Count on YouTube. I don't know why I had to pause there. On YouTube, and you will find it up there as WrestleMania 41 vlog. It's about 15 minutes long, and you will find all the clips mashed up together. They're in a bit of a random order, but you'll see everything that we saw and where our views, and like what I was talking about a minute ago. But yeah, also there's going to be some changes up to the podcast soon. More news on that next week. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.